All right, Carolina Panthers draft review. Not a ton to talk about. You see just 5 names on the board. Despite that being, all that being said, this still could be a franchise-altering draft, and it really comes down to one player. Of course, it's Bryce Young. I mean, if Bryce Young is who we believe Bryce Young can be, the Panthers, they don't care about any of the other selections. None of that matters. If these teams that have quarterbacks, that's what it all comes down to, and they traded up a lot to make sure that they could get Bryce Young. They gave up a player they really like in DJ Moore and a future first-round pick. So if they suck next year, you're not going to get a draft pick. But I'm reminded of the Deshaun Watson trade a little bit in that, and even the Bears with Justin Fields, both teams traded away a future first-round pick, had poor year twos, but didn't really care so much because they liked their young quarterback. Again, the Deshaun Watson thing went off the rails for different reasons, but for the Panthers, you don't care about any of that as long as Bryce Young hits. Again, just what you're looking at on the chart is from left to right. You have the player name, what position they play, then where they were drafted, and what the consensus big board said they should be drafted. So we can circle back and talk about Bryce Young a little bit more at the end. I think that would be fine. But let's talk about the other players, the guys who maybe aren't going to get as much attention as Bryce Young, understandably so. But again, this stuff is still very important. Being able to draft well in later rounds, which they still had a pick 30 and pick 80, so some premium picks, that still matters. They clearly wanted to get a weapon for Bryce Young. It was a reach of Jonathan Mingo. It just was. I mean, he was 30th, or he was 79th on the consensus big board, but they selected him 30th. That's a concern. Now, the one thing I'll say is that wide receivers, notoriously a very fluky position. I mean, definitely something where, guys who are supposed to be third rounders end up being great literally every single year. That happens all the time. So for the Carolina Panthers, getting someone who also, quick clarification, it's 39, not 30 on the big board. So it was an early second round pick, not, that's a typo. So that changed it a little bit, but still, getting someone, maybe reaching on someone, even if it's a 40 pick reach, if you're going to do that, receiver is the position to do it. Again, don't do that. That's not smart. But if you're going to, that is what you should do, in my opinion, is that's the position that you should do that too. So I understand the logic behind it. Is Jonathan Mingo going to be good at the next level? What about the player himself? He's interesting. So he's, 6'2", 220 pounds. Definitely a built running back. He's built like a running back. He's definitely a built wide receiver. Someone who I think can sort of maybe use that to his advantage and use the athleticism to his advantage. He's someone who has gotten better. His best year was his most recent season. It's also the year where he got the most playing time, over 900 snaps last year, whereas the previous year, under 400 with 399, and in 2020, 665. So definitely had his best year in college, his most recent year, and that's definitely what people are going to look towards, is that final year, and maybe you can see him continue to improve. And again, like I said, you don't care about any of these picks if Bryce Young hits. This is a pick because of Bryce Young, and because you're trying to make him hit. The number one predictor of success at the quarterback position is what situation did they get drafted into. That's the best way to predict if a quarterback drafted early is going to succeed or not. So getting that situation as good as possible matters, and that's what they're trying to do. Even if it's a bit of a reach, I'll defend it in the sense that maybe there's better receivers on the board, but getting the receiver and getting a receiver you like and you feel it can fit your system in this situation, when the goal is just to improve Bryce Young, make it easier for Bryce Young, okay, I won't hurt you. I won't fight back too much on that one. I can at least understand the logic. Then we have a reach where there was less logic behind it. We have DJ Johnson, the edge rusher, who was picked with pick number 80 in the draft class, but he is currently, 188 on the consensus big board. Me, I like looking at analytics when it comes to edge rushers. I like looking at production, advanced stats. How well did you do? If you can have success at the college level, Okay, abrupt cut here. Sorry about that. My dog started barking, and I don't remember exactly where I left off, so my bad on the abrupt cut. But regardless, back to DJ Johnson. I remember we were talking about him and talking about his analytics, which, that translates very well to the next level. Guys who have high PFF grades and high pass rush win rates and, good run stop rates and things like that, that translate to the next level. His are bad. In fact, his run defense PFF grade is below average for just college players in general. And his pass rush grade above average, but not by a ton. I mean, I don't know what they saw in him, quite frankly. I haven't done a deep dive on DJ Johnson, but to me, 188 feels high for him. They drafted him with pick 80, which just makes you wonder why. What are you doing here, Carolina? You had some really, I don't know why you needed to make this move. You maybe could have gotten Jonathan Mingo with this pick, or traded back with the Jonathan Mingo pick, and then still gotten DJ Johnson with the pick you traded back with, and gotten someone else at pick 80. I don't know. There were ways to do this, and maybe they know something I don't. Certainly, obviously they've spent a lot more time researching this stuff and a lot more resources of all the people in the room and stuff doing this. I'm sure they have their reasons, but just given what I know now, the stuff that I know now is confusing, and I wonder what exactly they were thinking. But again, sometimes I say that, and then there's actually a very logical reason why they drafted that player, and they end up being pretty good. Next up on the list, again, we're pick 114 now. We are very much getting into the time when it's just get guys who can be depth pieces, and feels like Chandler Zavala, I believe is how you say his name, could be potentially that. He is someone who, hey, this is an example of you not reaching on a player. They actually got someone a bit later than the consensus big board says they should go. So, hey, you feel good about that, certainly. And, for someone like him, again, I do care about the analytics when it comes to offensive linemen as well. Not spectacular, but a good pass block grade. So, hey, maybe someone who can come in and be a good pass blocker right away. For pick 114, that's certainly very interesting. And then number 145, they selected Jamie Robinson, the safety, who, again, very fascinating. Someone who was a projected top 100 pick, ends up going at pick 145. So, kind of my old expression is never let a day two go by without selecting at least one wide receiver or one safety. They accomplished that with their receiver in Jonathan Mingo in round 2. But also, Jamie Robinson was projected to be a day 2 player who they ended up getting, pick 145. So you got to feel pretty good about that. Again, not necessarily someone who feels like he's a star talent necessarily, but someone who, we see this at the safety position relatively frequently. Guys can come in and play pretty well. Do they need a safety? No, absolutely not. You have Von Bell, Jeremy Chin, Xavier Woods. You're good. Eric Rose in the mix as well. But what if guys get hurt? Always good to have depth, and maybe he can play special teams as well. So, as a whole, it's a fantastic draft because you got Bryce Young. Nothing else matters. That is the draft. Couple of head scratchers here, and they only had 5 picks, so, it is what it is. A couple of picks I like, though, outside of the Bryce Young pick. Like, I like the Zavala pick a good chunk, and the Jamie Robinson pick. Liked half of their picks outside of the Bryce Young pick, which, of course, everyone loves. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.